I hope everybody's having just a great day. Maybe as good as mine. I think physically, I'm thinking like a 7. I'm pretty tired from yesterday, but that's a great number regardless. But anyway, mentally, definitely an 8 kind of day. Many homies at the gym, very good time. It was one of those days where you just end up shooting the shit with people and the weights just feel lighter because you're not thinking too much about it. But something that I thought would be fun to talk about is how sore you should be, or like what might be acceptable, because I know a lot of people might think that you should be walking out of the gym like you're fucking crumbling. I don't like that personally. But we will get into that and why. But basically, there's I do Olympic and powerlifting. I don't know how bodybuilding works as much, but I still think that there is a level of exercise and energy that you put into the gym to where even if you're going to like almost failure every time, bodybuilders get to this consistent point where they will be doing workouts that they absolutely know they can do, so that they can do each exercise at the maximum capacity that, I feel like every exercise should have a similar amount of energy on every day that you work out, even if it's like the second or third day or fourth day in a row. You want to calculate how much fatigue you're building up along the way. I feel like that's super detrimental to a program that works well for everybody. But basically, the way that I see it is you can train as hard as you want to, but you need to understand how much rest will be needed for said energy, or how many, like what your sets and rep ranges are going to be when you're coming up with whatever hard exercise you want to do. Because I know, like, especially in Olympic, people can get carried away and do a shit ton of complexes that just they're the bullshit kind of complexes. There's only really a few solid complexes that can make you stronger efficiently while also training your technique. And it's also got to be specific to the person doing it. You can't just copy what other people do and expect it to fix whatever issues you're having. You got to pick your exercises with a purpose and a desire to do better. But not to go down that tangent line again, because I talk about that way too much. The important part is accepting that sometimes it's going to feel very easy. This is actually a wonderful thing that people take for granted all the time, because they'll come to the gym, do some 3-hour workout like they normally do. It's on the program, they follow the numbers, they do the sets and the reps, and they leave and they're like, damn, I had like 8 more sets in me. I should have gone harder. No, that variability of fatigue is going to affect you differently later on during that week. The way that I train is I'll do 3 days of exercising in a row with 1 day of rest after. And I'll just go back and forth doing that the way I have it laid out. But the most important thing for me is that first day after the rest day. That's where I want to put the most energy, because I'm the most primed. The days after that, I'm still going to be putting in as much maximum effort as I can, but because they are the second and third days, I have to think about what I want my reps and sets to be like according to that. So even though the first day, let's say it's a clean and jerk day, and I do 4 sets of triples at 75%. That's how heavy I want to go that week. My goal for the end of the program is to work up to 95% for a bunch of singles. So it makes sense to do that one block of percentages at a time. But the next day I come in, if I'm doing snatches, I can't just do snatches at 75%. It doesn't make, it makes sense statistically, but unfortunately we're human, and our brittle bones and squishy organs and very delicate flesh and muscles, they don't handle doing the same weights, and your body just can't produce the same amount of energy you use that first day on the second or third day. It just isn't feasible, unless you're on some special substances. But again, if you're doing that, there's still going to be a cap at some point. You're going to be able to do a lot more. You might be able to do 20 sets, but you're still going to have to do 20 sets that first day and then 15 sets the second day. And so regardless of how you want to do it, the way I see it is if I'm doing a certain percentage, and I want to continue doing the same rep and set ranges on the following days, I won't make it too complex and change all the numbers around. I'll just literally decrease the weight by 5%, because 10% is a lot when you get like, not to, humble brag, but 5% for me on most of my lifts is 15 to 20 to even 25 pounds. On squat it can be like 40. Not that high, but I like to think about it. But anyway, 10% is a good chunk of weight. And so if you make the weights too easy, you won't be getting as much efficiency in your workouts. While at the same time, you don't want to do too much, because then you're going to be taking away from the rest that you should be getting. And you're going to be building up too much fatigue to properly perform any lifts that you want to do. So regardless of all that, I'm getting I've gone on way too long of a tangent without any conclusive point to this. It's kind of like what I keep preaching about programming. You just want to have fun with it, and you got to do trial and error to really figure it out for yourself. It's not just something that you can see someone else do and then think, oh, that's just what I'm going to do because he lifted a heavy weight and I'm going to do that. I grew up watching people like Clarence Kennedy, Lou Xiaojun, Lasha, all that shit, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do just exactly what they do. And even if you don't expect to hit the same weights as they do, because they're on shit and they've been doing it for so much longer and they had way better coaching, the sets and reps and the amount of times a day or a week that they work out, it is never going to be the same as anyone else. You can't ever compare what your fatigue level is to other people, because they've done the trial and error to get to the point to where they know exactly what their reps and sets should be like, because it's just a feeling. I've done so many triples, I've done so many doubles, so many singles, sets of 6, 8, 4, 12, whatever. I've done so many different types of programming to the point to where I know exactly what numbers are going to affect me and in what way. These first 2 weeks of my program are meant to just be like, it's not heavy strength-wise, so I can preserve a lot of my strength energy for when I go up and weight in the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks. But when it comes to my the aerobic stress of Olympic weightlifting, the increased set volume with the highest rep volume that I'll be doing throughout the program, that's what makes me, that's where most of my energy goes in. It's more on my form, my core, my consistency especially. Doing these larger set ranges have just forced me to shove my core into the bottom of the squat, and I've gotten much more confident in that way because of that. But even though that works for me, somebody might need to do the same thing, but with different sets and reps that correlates with their own personal fatigue. And again, it sucks, because it's easy enough. It's like telling someone to just get better when they feel shitty. It's super easy to say when you know how to do it, but it's trial and error when it comes to the person that hasn't done it. You have to experience that failure to build yourself up, to get to the point where you can just call it out and be like, that's the one right there. I know exactly what I'm doing today. Those reps and sets are going to feel awesome. Even if I personally don't know what I want to do that day, I can still go to for my power lifts, I've been doing 5 sets. My idea was originally 4, but I got to 4 and I knew for a fact that I could do 1 more and then do my snatch or clean and jerk after. But 6 would have been too much, or vice versa. If I did 4 sets on my power lift, even if I did 5 sets instead of 4 on my Olympic lifts after, it still would have been too much, because Olympics affect me differently when it comes to my level of fatigue and whatever. So basically, I like to just train in the sense of, you can be mentally tired and physically tired, whatever. You can be drained, you want to go home and pass out and fall asleep. But when it comes to the level of soreness in your body, like the pins and needles and the feeling of your muscles getting spreaded so thin that you can't walk or sit on the toilet and shit right, that is a no-no for me. It's a great thing to feel, especially when you start, because you have to do it that way when you start, and especially when you start a new program, you'll probably get sore initially, but as you get used to whatever workouts you're doing and the more consistency you have in the gym, that level of soreness should even out, because you're using, like, if you can go into the gym, do a really hard, solid workout, do exactly what you were programmed to do, and then leave without feeling that wibble-wobbliness in your knees, then I think you're training with the maximum amount of efficiency when it comes to how much strength you're getting, plus the amount of rest and from the fatigue that you're giving your body. Because your body can't lift at 100% unless you give it that time to get rid of the fatigue. You know, it's like you go for a binge all night, and then you wake up the next morning, you're going to feel like shit. So you got to give your body that rest to flush all the alcohol out of your system or whatever you took. And then you can do like whatever productivity you need to do in the day at the most amount of efficiency. So basically, the way I see it, it's okay to get sore. Just don't push yourself every single day to the point to where you are getting super sore, because then you're gonna be fatigued all the time. And even if you're lifting at 50%, you're still gonna feel like shit. And pushing it that hard all the time, when you're anywhere from 12 to, we can say 25, your body can take a lot, but there will be a point, whether you're younger or older, whatever, everybody's different, but your joints will eventually just deteriorate to shit. And it's tough, but that's just how it is. At 18, I tore my low back in 2 spots, and it took 8 months to rehabilitate. And then when I got back, I tried to go heavy every day again, or not even heavy, I was just pushing the weight as hard as I could every single day. And because of that, I almost blew out both knees at 18. Like, that's fucking horrible for my age. I should be primed until I'm in my mid to late 20s. So anyway, the way I've got my training down now, everything feels great. I'm never too sore. My joints are always feeling fluid and mobile. So if you feel like your hips aren't open enough, and you feel like there's always something wrong with your shoulder, or you feel like you're tweaking something all the time, take it easy a little bit. Like, either add an extra rest day, or just take down the rep or set volume. It's not a big deal. Just start with something. The way that you should start your programming is start a little bit light. Make that first cycle on your program easy. The whole point is to do it easily so that you can build it up consistently. If you start off too hard and you fail weights on your first time doing a new program, of course you're gonna feel concern about your programming. And what is it? I don't even know. But you're not gonna have that full faith in your programming that you should. You need to build it up slowly with weights that you know you can do, so that you can increase the weight at a constant rate afterwards, once your body knows what that programming and that level of fatigue feels like. Anyway, way too much of a tangent. I just had a lot to